share our screen. Okay, what we're going to do is we are just going to do a.
We're going to do Daniel.
Yep, you're going to look at Daniel itself.
And 5? No, chapter 1. Oh, revision.
Yeah, just as a review. Last week we managed to go through that chapter 5 itself, chapter 1. And
Not last week, the week before.
The week before, thank you. Yep. Yep.
I thought I missed again.
Oh, right. So we went through everything, the details, whatever, but we missed out 2 very important parts. Okay, and so I want to just catch up a little bit with what you have learned, and we want to see what you learned about God and what you learned lesson for yourself in these last days. So quick brainstorm and see what you have learned. Anybody has any lesson that you learned about God?
I thought we learned it this morning.
Yeah, this morning's sermon actually is related to Daniel. I'll talk about it in a little while. Yeah. But let's go back to chapter 1. Anybody remember?
So I think one thing I have learned is God is sovereign over the nations, even when his people are oppressed. And
yep, that is true. That is a good lesson. And I think if you look at the whole Daniel itself, the main theme there is God, his dominion, God's kingdom. Okay, is going to be above everybody, everyone else. So, yep. Okay, what else have you learned about God?
Sure, chapter 1, is that right?
Yeah, yep, chapter 1.
So things may not go according to our plan, but we must always trust that God is in control.
Okay, that's a good one. And one thing I learned about this one is that even though things don't go our way, actually God knows what he's doing. God is planning the way it is. Okay, so the fact that you are here in Australia, the fact that you are listening or whatever is actually everything. Okay, everything is under God's control. Okay, like Daniel is under God's control, and we just have to learn to trust him. All right.
I often don't think it's, I don't think it is in God's control. I'm thinking it's for our own good.
Okay.
Right. I don't think God control anybody, but sometimes but I look at my life. There are a lot of things. It's really for my good. At the time, I'm cursing everybody, but today I find out it is really for my own good.
Yep. Yep. Okay. So what he does is allow things to happen for our own good. It's just like the people of Judah. Okay, nobody likes to be in prison or captured, but it's for their own good. All right.
Well, certainly for Paul.
Yep, that's true. Oh, hi, Jane. Welcome again. Okay, all right. How about lesson for ourselves? Okay, in Daniel itself, there are lots of lessons that we can learn, especially for the last days. What have you learned that you can apply in these last days?
Patience.
Patience.
God will deliver us if we trust in him.
Oops. Yep, that's good. Okay. Patience. Back to Roddy. Patient, waiting for what? What are you waiting for?
Oh, patient. Not. I'm not actually waiting for anything, but I need to be patient, especially for my better half.
She's not on the line.
I also need to be patient in driving.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
there's a lot
right.
of things that need to be patient. Yeah.
Well, there are lots of things. There's another thing that I learned is that we are right now in what we call the great controversy.
Mm.
Okay, if you notice that every time God gave up something, destruction comes in. Okay, like God gave Judah up. When God gave Judah up, Satan came in and he captured Judah and then even caused it to be destroyed.
That's
Okay,
right.
there's the great controversy, and Satan is just waiting for the opportunity. Once the Holy Spirit leaves the earth, he will destroy everything. That's the great controversy. So we learn a lot about behind the curtains, what is happening, how the angels are working, okay, what is happening behind the scenes in Daniel itself. So we have to learn to cooperate. Oh, dear.
Mm.
Okay, there is a great controversy going on that we cannot see. Okay, that we cannot see at all, but it's happening behind us. Okay, and if you understand this picture of the great controversy, we look at the world in a different picture. Okay, this morning's sermon was very good. It talked about COVID-19. Okay, COVID-19 is not a plague. Okay, it is not something that is sent by God, but it's a warning. Okay, that the time is getting very, very close. Okay, in great controversy, we were just studying great controversy. In the last chapter, Ellen G. White says that Satan has used 6,000 years to deceive men. Okay, and Doris was suggesting 6,000 years. That means our end is coming very soon. Okay, so the end is very, very soon, sooner than what we think. So yeah, the COVID is a warning for us.
Tomorrow will be great.
Yeah, tomorrow could be a little while away, but it will be great. Okay, and when you look at Daniel's life, he got to cooperate. When Daniel cooperated with God, he got the best of everything. Okay, and so on.
Actually, Daniel's more than cooperate. He obeyed.
Okay, he obeyed. That is part of cooperating. Okay, when we obey God, we're actually holding on to God's hand.
Well,
And
sometimes you see, you may not want to cooperate, but you still obey.
Okay, okay, that's the aspect of it. Yep, that's true. Yep. The other thing is we also learn about health. Why didn't Daniel complain about the name change, but when it comes to food, he purposed in his heart? Why?
Well, input is important. It'll affect everything.
Like what? Yeah, you're right. In what way?
Well, you're mentally, you're spiritually, you're physically, right?
Yep.
Your decision making.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you what, when I'm hungry, it's really difficult for me to make rational decisions. I will complain about anybody.
Yep, that's true.
I think that the thing is about health is that our body is a temple of the Holy Ghost, all right? So
Yes.
it's very important to continue to keep our body, our temple, to be consistent with God's plan anyway.
Yeah, especially so in the last days. All right, we have to make sure in Review and Herald, Ellen G. White said that, okay, I'm not going to read everything. I just want to read certain parts. Let me get my highlighter out. Okay, okay. She said that Daniel purposed in his heart. Okay, the reason for that is because he wants to keep his body under. Okay, and he wants to have a clear mental perceptions. Okay, he wants to discern between right and wrong. And this is very important today in our last days. All right.
Right.
We have to keep our body fit. If we are sickly, our brains is one of the first, our mind is one of the first to go away. All right, so we have to do that. And when we do that, what happens is we learn to cooperate with God. Okay, this is all part of the thing. And that is why he was so adamant. He said, I have to make sure that I don't defile my body. So he knows about that. Okay, I'm going to go on. Okay, this is talking about cooperation. I'm going to skip that. Okay, one more thing that I learned. Okay, in looking at the study of Daniel itself. Okay, in the Bible itself, they always got a type and the anti-type. The natural showing something that is the spiritual. All right. When we understand the things that are happening in the Bible itself, God record them for a purpose to teach us something. Okay, and He always have some lessons behind. Okay, so like in the Bible, they talk about the temple, like what Christopher said, the temple. The temple is our body. All right, and God is going to dwell in the temple. He's going to dwell in us. When He's going to write the 10 Commandments, He's going to write it in our heart, in us, our body. That's the spiritual part. In Daniel itself, as I look at the history of Daniel itself, you notice that the literal part, okay, Satan always does this. He attacked the city. After attacking the city, what does he do? He take all these people and make them captives. Okay, do not allow them to do God's work. In fact, if you look at the whole Bible, the whole Old Testament, you notice something. Satan is always attacking those God's people. You know why? Because he's trying to stop Jesus from coming in. If he can destroy, corrupt the people of Israel, then God cannot send Jesus, because God is sending Jesus through the line. So he did all sorts of things. Notice that the patriots, all those good people, you notice that they don't give birth easily. Okay, they have to wait for many, many years later, then they give birth to a child, a boy. Okay, and so Satan tempts them. So Satan tries his very best. He make them captives and so on. The other thing he does is he destroys the temple as much as he can. Okay. All right. So what do I learn from that? Okay. Spiritually, Satan always attacks God's people. All right. He always aims for God's people. In Revelation, he says that because he cannot go on to attack Jesus, Jesus has gone off, the child has gone off. What does he do? He turned against the remnant. Okay. So you find that in the last days, Satan will actually cause the church, not just the SDA church, all the churches to be captive. Okay, by Babylon. We're going to talk a lot on Babylon today. Okay, and what he does is the ministry of Christ. The sanctuary is the ministry of Jesus. Okay, everything in the sanctuary talks about Jesus. So the ministry of Christ will be impacted negatively. Satan will try all sorts of means to delay, to cause it to go to the wrong direction and so on. But after a while, what happens? God is always there. He will actually liberate us, and then we can go to heaven. Okay, that was some of the lessons that we can learn from last week. Anyone else have any lessons that you want to bring out? Right, let's go on to lessons for today. Now, like I said, sometimes some of you may have questions and you're not clear of anything. Just ask. All right, I may not have the answer, but I believe that when we work together, we could get the answer. Okay, so our task here is not just to listen, okay, it's to learn, to share, because some of you have been in the church even longer than I have. Some of you have been studying the book of Daniel for a lot more. So anything that you can share with this group itself that we can learn, that will be really useful. So any moment that you want, you can stop, jump in, or send a chat or whatever. Okay, so don't feel shy.
You know, one thing really amazed me about Daniel is he was fearless, right? The Bible didn't mention that he was fearful when he approached King Nebuchadnezzar, Belshazzar. You know, when it's time for him to deliver news to them, he just delivered, right? He just obeyed God. And I think, like, for me, this is something I need to learn, right? To be fearless when we walk with God. There's nothing I or we should fear, like even in times of this COVID-19, this pandemic. Yeah, we just have to face it with a brave mentality.
Yeah, I agree on that. Very good. That was a very good lesson. Yeah, true. Okay, we just have to face in Hebrews. He says that we have to build a relationship so much so that when in time of peace, when we have a relationship, we build a relationship so much so that we dare to come to God to ask, okay, for his guidance. And yeah, Hyung is right. You know, every time we think about the last days, I think of the torture, I think about being thrown into prison, running into the wilderness. Okay, it's very frightening. But you know, when the time comes and you trust in God, God will give us the courage Okay, we do not know how, but somehow God will actually give you the courage. So that's what it is. Okay, all right. In this next chapter itself, okay, in this chapter itself, you find that we are going to look at not Daniel, but a hidden king, and he's going to share his testimony. All right, sharing of testimony, like what we learned in Sabbath school this morning. Sharing of testimony is very, very important. Okay, Daniel had already, sorry, Nebuchadnezzar already had his dreams. Okay, in chapter 3. Okay, chapter 2, and so on and so forth. So let's look at what happened. Now it's about 30 over years since Daniel was promoted. So he and the king has developed a good relationship. All right, so it's about the year 569. Okay, just a little bit before the end of Nebuchadnezzar's life. Okay, and so forth. Now, this is just a side thought. Okay, Daniel must have been praying for Nebuchadnezzar 35 years. He's been praying for the king all the time. I believe that. I believe Daniel was praying for not just the people of Israel, but also for the king. Okay, and 35 years of praying, he doesn't have anything itself. Now, in this chapter itself, we see the answer to Daniel's prayer. And I think that we can learn something from there too. Okay, so in Daniel chapter 4, the king says this. Okay, he says that, and if you read it, I'm not going to read everything, but look at those words that have been highlighted. Okay, when you look at the first verse, to all people, peace be multiplied unto you. It's good to declare the signs. What does this remind you of? Does it remind you of yourself? What does it remind you? What's your impression when you read this? Okay, suppose you do not know Nebuchadnezzar's background. Okay, and if someone come up to you and say, peace to you. Okay, and they're so enthusiastic, they're so full of fire. What is your impression of this person? You know, when I first read this, my impression is, wow, this guy must be a newborn Christian. He must have just came into the church just recently, just like newlywed, you know, so excited. All right, I remember when I first became a Christian, I was really on fire, going out, doing all sorts of things for God. And that is what it is. So that was the impression I have. The other impression I had was that this one sounds like Paul. If you read all his greetings in all his letters, he always, peace unto you, God grace be upon you. Okay, and so on and so forth. So here, Nebuchadnezzar must be a new convert when he wrote this. All right, and so he said, peace to everybody, multiply now. What I want you to do is take note of the word that is in red here, most high, kingdom, dominions. Okay, you'll find that these words are repeated many times. In fact, if you have the chance while you're listening, you may want to count in Daniel chapter 4 alone. Count how many times the word most high appear. Okay, the kingdom, how many times it appears. All right, so that is something for you while you're listening. Keep count of it. All right, then I'll give you a quiz after this. All right, so anyway, that was what you are. So yeah, sounded like a new convert like Paul. And I remember this one, I think was Robert. Remember you shared this one with us? The last phase, know God, you know peace. All right, and know God, know peace. Yep, this is what happens in the life of Nebuchadnezzar. Okay, before he knows God, he doesn't have any peace of mind. But once he knew God, there was peace, and that's why he can say peace to you. Okay, so next level, when you meet each other, just remember, all right, say peace to each other. All right. Then, verse 4 and 5, Nebuchadnezzar was at rest. Now, this is something interesting. I was at rest in my house, flourishing in my palace. How many of you dare to say that? You're flourishing, but if you look at your life, okay, you will realize that, oh, you are improving, you're flourishing. Okay, you're getting better, you're getting richer, you're getting smarter. All right. But if you forget that it is God who gave you all these things, then Satan will make use of it. And that's what happened in Nebuchadnezzar. He was flourishing in his palace. Okay, and then Satan led him to somewhere else and he became very proud. Okay, and then he said, I have a dream now. So far, he already had one terrible dream before. Now he has another dream, and this dream make him afraid. Suddenly he lost all his sleep. Okay, his heart, his head troubled him. Okay, so it's like a nightmare to him. And as he shared his dreams, okay, he says this. Okay, he asked for the wise person to come in again, and he told them the dream. Okay, but they cannot interpret it. Now, there is a few questions I have asked over here. First of all, why did he bring in all the wise men? What do you think? And where was Daniel? Daniel is supposed to be the head of all these magi and wise people. He's a chief. Why wasn't Daniel called first? Have you ever wondered? Maybe it's something for you to think about. Okay. All right, let's think about it. Maybe it's afterwards you get some impression. Okay, now, after he told them the dreams, the wise men cannot give an interpretation. They cannot explain what is this dream about. Okay, I have a strange, very strange feeling that actually the wise man knows the interpretation. Even next session when we talk about Daniel 5, when they saw the handwriting, okay, I believe that they may, in this case itself especially, they may know the meaning of it. After all, these people were trained by Daniel, okay, at least under Daniel. So I believe, but they were afraid, okay, like Hyung said earlier on, okay, they were fearful, they were afraid, okay. So that's one of the things, or maybe they might honestly do not know the interpretation. Could be true too. All right. In the last days, especially in the last days, you'll find that there'll be a lot of nightmares of people. So things will not be happening the way they want it. And the only people they can turn to is not one of their wise friends. You guys will have to be the one doing the interpretation because you know what's happening. You know what's happening in the background. Okay, you know that behind everything, God is actually in charge. So in the last days, that could be something that you want to look into. Okay, people will not be able to answer the question, why are all these things happening to us? They have to turn to you. Okay, now just before I go on to turning to Daniel itself, what's the difference between this dream and the dream of the image? Chapter 2, the statue. What's the difference between these two? Anyone?
He remembered his dream this time?
Yes, good. He remembered the dreams. And not only did he remember the dream, what did he do? He held them the dream. Okay, very good. Yeah. What other difference is there? Difference between chapter 2 and chapter 4, the two dreams.
Two different things.
Yeah, different things. Yeah, okay, they are different, talking about different things. Okay, but the beginning part is similar. Okay, to a certain extent. Well, you notice that in the second dream, the first dream, he threatened them. You better tell me, better give me the interpretation or I chop off your head. But in the second time, he did not. He did not even give them a threat. Didn't say anything. Okay. Somehow or other, I think that then Nebuchadnezzar in this particular case is actually testing all these people. All right, whether they can come up with some sort of cock and bull stories just to interpret the thing itself. Nebuchadnezzar is actually testing these people. Okay, even though he is troubled, Nebuchadnezzar is still quite a wise person. And that is one of the reasons I believe he did not call Daniel straight away. he called the rest of the people because he trusts Daniel. You'll find out afterwards. He trusts Daniel, but not all these other guys. And I believe that he called them first to give them a chance, okay, to prove themselves. All right. In the last days, all right, people will be searching for an answer. Okay, they could turn to other people and they will see the answer, but they know they will not get the answer. Okay, so that is one of the difference itself. So notice that in this case, he didn't say, I will chop off your head, whatever. He just tell them, okay, this is my dream. Can you tell me what it is? All right. So, yep. All right. Okay, I have to mute him a little bit, making noise. Okay, and so finally, after giving those wise men a chance, he came at last. At last he came. Okay, it's the same in the world. You find that when the world is going through trouble, they will try to ask this person, that person, that person. Finally, at last, they know that in the final analysis, they have to turn back to a Christian. At last, okay. So he called for Daniel. Okay, and he described Daniel. Daniel was the chief. Okay, Daniel was the chief of all the magicians. Okay, normally when the king called, the king will call the chief, but in this case he didn't. Like I said, I suspect he was testing the rest of the people. And he mentioned something. He said that the spirit of the Holy Ghost, Holy God is in you. Okay, and because the spirit is in you, no secret troubles you. Everything will be laid out. Remember in Amos, God will surely do nothing, nothing at all, unless he informed the prophets, his servant. Okay, so that's what it is. So, okay, I have two questions over there. Who do you think Daniel represents in the last days?
The church.
The church. Yep, good. Okay, God's people, God's remnant. Okay, now, as we go along more in this session itself, I will ask you more and more questions to get you thinking, because it is no point just listening, because when you listen, you will not assimilate as fast in you. So you have to think, okay, ask questions for yourself, search for yourself. Yep, the church represents the church in the last days, the last days church. And so we have to be ready for it. Okay, I mentioned before, Daniel knew that Judah is going to fall. He knew that some of them will be captured and put into Babylon to work as slaves, not slaves, servants of the king. He knew. Okay, and so he actually was prepared as much as he can. Okay, I believe he had actually memorized the Torah. In fact, he actually kept, okay, some record. Daniel actually kept some record, the part of the Torah, Isaiah. Okay, we'll talk more about that maybe in the next section. He actually kept some or brought some of this Torah inside there, and a personal letter to Cyrus. Okay, he was prepared up to the extent. Okay, so that's the same with us. Okay, how prepared are you in the last days to be like Daniel? Okay, and the next question is very important that you want to think about.
Daniel is not just the church, isn't it? Daniel is the God's follower in the church.
That's right, the remnant. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Okay. Well, it depends on how you define the church. All right. The SDA church is very soon is going through a period of shaking. Okay, a lot of shaking. Okay, and you will be shaken because a lot of truth and untruth comes in and creep in. Okay, so when we say the church, what we are actually looking at is what you said just now, Roddy, is that it's a remnant. It's not the church as an organization. It's not the system.
God's follower.
Yeah, it's God's follower, true follower, not just any follower.
Yeah, because if you're not God's follower, when the shake comes, you'll be gone.
Yes. Yep. And the shaking is coming very soon, sooner than what we think. Okay.
What do you think? We're not in the shake now.
We are. There are we don't feel it as much over here. Okay, but if you go to other churches, especially in the US and other countries, they are actually facing the shaking. People are leaving the churches. Okay, all right, let's go to the dream. Okay, and you know, if I had this dream, the first part of his dream anyway, I'd be amazed. I won't be frightened. I'd be excited. Okay, he looks over there and then the tree over there, and notice that this tree is not just any ordinary tree. It was right in the middle of the earth, and it grew and became strong. And notice the word there. It reaches to the heavens. Okay, and it can be seen everywhere on earth itself. Okay, so this tree is no ordinary tree. You know, in the old days, even today, they say that the country that has the tallest building is usually the most stable financially. Okay, one of the most powerful, and that's why a lot of countries today are trying to build tall towers to compete with each other. See who has the highest hotel, highest whatever it is, they're competing. Okay, and,
So
and
Dubai will be the really stable one, isn't it?
yeah, it's one of the richest at the moment. Not for
They're
long
not
anyway.
going to be soon because
Yeah,
they're
not for
all
long.
gone, you know.
Yeah, Saudi
What?
and yeah, correct. The oil nations are having a lot of problem at the moment. A lot of conflict. Okay, interesting word. Okay, so this tree here reaches to the heavens. All right. Now, Nebuchadnezzar, to a certain extent, also give you a representation of Satan. Okay. So in a way, this tree is like Satan trying to reach up to heaven. Okay, reaching vertically. All right, not just horizontally but vertically. Now, the next part nowadays is something that I never see in real life. Not the way it is. You know, in nature, a bird or an animal, when they go to a tree and they find food, they never build their nest over there. Okay, they always build their nest somewhere else away from the food. Okay, it's a way of protecting themselves because food, other creatures will come. And if they build a nest there, what happens? The nest will be discovered. So in nature itself, the animals, they always build their nest somewhere else from the tree itself, from the food itself. But here, yeah, away another tree where it's not food. Okay, that's nature. That's how they protect themselves. Okay, but over here, food, shade, dwelling place are all in the same tree. Okay, and that tree is the Babylon city of Babylon. Many of the people today too have the same thing. Okay, they like to stay in the city because there is food there, there's lodging there, there's transport, everything is convenient, everything is there. But like in this story itself, when the tree is cut down, everything is gone. Okay, so that is the thing that's unnatural about this dream. Okay, and that is everybody is going into the city. That's not something that we should be doing. Okay, in fact, I think soon you will be listening to a few more sermons that say, hey, time to leave the city, time to go out of the city. Okay, and that is part of the thing. Anyway, let's carry on from there. Any thoughts? Okay, in the Bible, tree represents people, nations, and usually they represent the leader of the nations. Okay, so I have some Bible text over there. You can look at it later on if you look at the thing I'm going to go through quickly. But things like Assyria, Pharaoh, they're considered as a cedar of Lebanon. Okay, apparently the cedar of Lebanon has a very, 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 very nice fragrance. Okay, that when you burn it, you got nice fragrance. So, and it's also big and huge. Solomon went all the way to cedar to Lebanon to get all the cedar for the temple and for its building. Okay, in the Bible, olive tree, fig tree, olive tree refers to Israel. Olive refer more to the priesthood. Okay, fig tree refer more to the nation as a whole. Okay, so tree represents people. okay, in the Old Testament time. All right. Then suddenly, Nebuchadnezzar saw a watcher, okay, while he was still looking at enjoying the nice tree and so on. He said there was a watcher, the Holy One. Notice that over here, the watcher is singular. There's one watcher watching, and he's coming down to heaven, and apparently at high speed coming down to heaven. And he heard this: cut down the tree, cut off his branches, strip off his leaves, scattered, and then chase the animals away from and the birds away from the branches. Okay, now, what or who is this watcher, this holy man? What do you think it is? Or who do you think it was?
Must be God.
Must be God. Okay, could be a God. How about the rest? What do you think?
Kind of supernatural angel or being serving the God.
Yeah. Okay, a watcher could be a God, could be a supernatural being. Okay, could be one of the sons of God. Okay. Anyone has any thoughts? Yeah, David, sorry.
Could be Michael.
Could be Michael. Could be Michael. Okay.
This scene reminds me of Zechariah. Because in Zechariah, Jesus sent his angels to watch the four corners of the earth.
Okay, yeah. In Zechariah, Jesus sent the angels down here.
Certainly, it's a message from heaven anyway.
Yes, yes. Okay. Again, like I said, it gives you a background, okay, into what's happening. We don't see a lot of things. Our eyes are just restricted to just things around us. They're just living in this three-dimensional, maybe four-dimensional space that we have. But there are lots of things that are happening beyond. And apparently, okay, God has, to make sure that everything goes away, God has sent his angels, okay, to come and watch. Or it could be not just angels, but some supernatural being or some of the beings from other universe. Okay, in 1 Corinthians, Paul said that we are made a spectacle unto the world, the universe, to the angels. Okay, everybody is watching us. Okay, and in Review and Herald again, okay, he says down there that actually God has assigned people to watch, or angels or whatever, to watch over the kings, okay, because the kings will decide the destiny of nations. And so God is watching, they were vigilant. All right, later on in Daniel, we will actually see another instance where the prince of Persia, the prince of Greece, and so on, okay, we see again, we see the watcher watching. All right, so God is not letting the world run as it is. People think that God created us and then just left us alone. Okay, from here we know that actually God is actually watching us very, very closely. All right, He's watching you everywhere, and especially when you're the leader, church leader, or the country's leader, you are watched even more carefully. There's a watcher watching you, okay, and recording what you do and making sure that you are going the way that you should be. So what did the watcher say? Chase all the animals away, chase all the birds away. And he says, but nevertheless, leave the stump and the roots in the earth. Okay, now, if you have cut down a tree before and you leave the stump, guess what? The tree will grow again. Okay, I know because I tried cutting down this tree, okay, until the last part I can't cut. What happened after a while, it grew again. Then you cut it down again. So what I did was, interestingly enough, what I did was I put weed killer. I put weed killer inside, in between the Cambrian part, the part itself, and the tree died for a while. Then recently, you know what happened? They started to form tiny little leaves, like a bonsai. Okay, and it's surviving again. So a tree, if you leave the stump and the roots, it will not die. And so we know that in this case itself, it will not die. It's bound with a band of iron, bronze. Okay, and if you will notice over here, okay, the tree is referred to as it. Okay, let it be read with the dew of heaven. Yeah, but a tree is supposed to be out there anyway. Then they change it. Okay, instead of it, they use the word him. It personalized the whole thing. All right, let his heart be changed. Okay, and I want you to look at this 7 times over here. Okay, again, like I said, those words in red, if you keep track of how many times it appears in Daniel 4, there is some significance. Okay, remember, like I said in the first introduction, Daniel, as he wrote this book, he was looking at it very carefully. He's planning certain things. God has inspired him to write certain things the way it's written. Okay, so the 7 times is important if you look at it very carefully. So take note of that for a while first. Okay, heart of beast. Okay, over here it says that his heart be changed from a man to a beast. Okay, so Daniel was given the heart of a beast. Okay, and beast can refer to a lot of things. Okay, and I think later when we come to the fulfillment, we'll spend a little bit more time on it. Okay, all right, and the next part. Okay, notice over here. This decision that was what the watcher, when the watcher came down, okay, he said is the decree of the watchers, of the holy ones. Notice that at first it was only one, but that one says that, hey, actually it's the decree of a group of watchers, a group of holy ones. Okay, God, especially when we study Revelation, God doesn't do things by himself. He has a council, he has 24 elders, he has a group of people working with him. Okay, and that's how his government is. And so this watcher here is not one person's decision. It's a whole group decision. Okay, a group of watchers, a group of holy ones making the decision, and then they send one representative to execute it. All right, so everything is fair and just in God's government. Okay, now there is something interesting over here. There's a purpose. What is the purpose of this decree? Why was this decree given? What did the angel say?
So everyone knows that the God is in control. God
Yeah.
is over.
Yeah. Okay. 2 things. Okay, God is in control. Who needs to know? Okay. The living needs to, yeah, everybody who is living, the living will know. The dead is too late. Okay, they can't do anything. But the living will know. When the thing happened, the living will know. Okay, so that's one thing. And what do they know? God is in charge. Okay, God is in charge. He will give it to whom he wants, according to his will, in his own time. This morning's sermon. Okay, the second reason that was not written there, but there's a second reason, and that is to help Nebuchadnezzar. The city of Babylon is going to fall. God is giving his warning to the city of Babylon. And in we'll talk about the third angel's message, second angel's message. He says that, come out of her, my people, come out of her, my people. This is the message. Okay, God is trying to warn Nebuchadnezzar that Babylon will fall. And you have to come out. You need to repent. You need to confess your sins. You need to change. Okay, so Nebuchadnezzar is considered as God's people. God is calling. Okay, this is the angel message in Revelation. Come out of her, my people, my people. God has a lot of people in the church, or in Babylon. Okay, and so he's calling them. All right, then Nebuchadnezzar says that, okay, this is my dream, blah, blah, blah. And then you notice something? He tell Daniel, said straight away, tell them, go ahead, tell me what's the interpretation. I know you're able. I know the Holy Spirit of God is in you. All right. Nebuchadnezzar has really great confidence in Daniel because he knew that Daniel has a God that is powerful, who knows everything, and there's no secret hidden from him. Okay?
Do you think he is converted then?
No,
On the verge.
no, he's not converted yet. Okay, that's a good question, Roddy. Now, let me just go back. Okay. When he said this, you are able for the spirit of gods. Okay, the Aramaic word that he used refers to many gods. Nebuchadnezzar is still a pantheon, he's still a polytheistic person. He still believes in many gods. His main god is still Marduk. All right, he's still, that's his main thing. The rest of, there are still gods, there are gods all over. One thing good about Nebuchadnezzar is he let everybody worship their own gods. But he's not converted at this point. Okay, even from his language itself, you know he's not converted yet. Okay, like for example, in okay, we didn't cover the one on the four friends. I see a son of gods. Again, that God sound there is actually in Aramaic many gods. It can be any gods. It can be an angel. It can be any being. All right. So he's not converted yet. Not yet, anyway. Okay. But then Daniel stopped for a while now. Daniel knew the answer almost immediately. In fact, I believe that before he came, God would have told him something. Okay. And he was astonished for a time. His thoughts troubled him. Okay. And what do you think the reason was? Was it because he doesn't know the answer, or what? What do you think? Well,
because it's a bad news for the king.
that's right. It is bad news. Just like if you go out and tell Trump, hey, your country is going to fall because of COVID-19.
Or because of you.
Yeah, you become the troublemaker like Elijah. Okay. Then Daniel has to bring out the bad news. Now, he doesn't mind bringing out the bad news. It was somebody else. But here was the king that he enjoyed, he loved, his friend. Okay, someone that he'd been praying for 30 over years.
Oh, he could have lost his head.
Yep, that's true too. Even though you're the best friend, you could lose the head. Yep, like the grandson of Nebuchadnezzar, Belshazzar. Okay, one day Belshazzar went out hunting with his good friend, his best friend. Okay, they went out hunting, and his best friend went and shot the animal first before Belshazzar. You know what happened to his best friend? His best friend had the head chopped off. Okay, those kings those days, they think that they own everything, the life and so on. So yes, Daniel could have his head chopped off, but I think that was the least of his concern. All right. Okay, so yep, you're right. Nebuchadnezzar had a bad reputation. Okay, so anything happen, you can take your house and burn them to dung. Okay, and so on. But Daniel wasn't really that worried. Daniel was worried because Daniel treated Nebuchadnezzar not just as a king, but as a friend. Okay, so notice what Nebuchadnezzar said. Go ahead, tell me whatever it is, don't worry. Okay, Nebuchadnezzar expected something bad to happen, or rather some bad interpretation. Okay, and that was the reason why he caught the wise men first to test them. Okay, because he knew that all these people always try to curry his favor, always give him the good news. But he himself knew that there must be a bad news. Okay, and so finally he told Daniel, go ahead and tell me. He sort of knew what it was. Okay, and Daniel says this, okay, the tree that you saw, blah, 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 that you see and so on, it is you. Okay, so Daniel told the king that he was the tree. All right. This phrase is used many times before. Okay, in Daniel chapter 2. Remember the statue? And he was talking about the head of gold. That golden head is you. Okay, Daniel tells you who it was. Okay, sometimes it is you, it's not a good thing. There was a Daniel, Nathan. Nathan was telling David a story. Remember the story? Can you still remember the story? That the king came and this farmer has only one lamb, but the king wants his lamb. And so Nathan told David the story, and David was so angry. Oh, I could kill the guy. Then Nathan says,
That's
the king, that's right, it is you. All right, that is terrible, but it is you. God is always for you. Okay, it is you. You are the head. Okay, let's go on with the dream. Okay, and so Daniel repeated the dream again, but as he repeated the dream, he started telling what it was. Okay, so I want you to take note of several things. Okay, again, you see this 7 times. Okay, again in red, I hope you are counting. Most High, 7 times. Okay, Most High again. All right, so what he was telling you is, okay, this is the dream that you want, and because you are the tree, you will be the beast. You will be made to eat grass like an ox. Okay, and until 7 times has passed. Now, I want you to take note that in this case itself, the word 7 is the word in the Bible itself, in the Hebrew Aramaic language, and times. So there are 2 words 7 times. Okay, 7 times. Okay, the word times in the original language, okay, refers to a period of time. Okay, in this case, Daniel, they interpret it as 7 years. Okay. Oh yeah, I can do a little bit fast. Let me just go on. All right, I'll come back to the 7 times in a little while. He mentioned something that I think one day somebody asked me, I think Doris asked me, why bands of iron and brass? Okay. And it took me a while to find the answer, but in Leviticus 26, okay, I'm written over here, in Leviticus 26, Leviticus 26 talks about the blessings if you follow God, and if you don't follow God, the curses. All right. And in verse 18 to 20, there's something that seems very familiar. Okay, I will punish you 7 times more for your sin. Okay, I will break the pride of your power, and I will make your heavens as iron and the earth as brass. Okay, in Psalms, in Deuteronomy, okay, they seems to imply that whenever you are cursed, they use this phrase. Okay, iron, heavens as iron, the earth as brass. Okay, it sounds like though you are being put in the prison. Okay, you cannot see the skies. All you see is iron. You cannot see the earth because all you see is brass. You are kept as a prisoner. You are cursed. Okay, so this is the old phrase that they use in those old days. All right. So if you are being put in the bands of iron and brass, that's what it means. You will be a prisoner. Okay. The bands of iron and brass does 2 things. It prevents you from going out. It also protects you. Okay. In a way, it's also protecting you. Okay, so that you won't be harmed. All right. So that's what it meant by the bands of iron and brass. Okay, back to the 7 times. Okay, if you actually count, you go to Daniel 4 and you count the word 7 times, you find that this appeared 4 times. Okay, in those verses over there. And okay, all right. You will notice that they use it as a noun. Okay, a noun simply means that it's a word by itself. 7, it stays by itself 7 times. Okay, so the times refers to 7 years or 7 periods of time. Okay, now why do I emphasize these 4 times and as a noun? Okay, you will find out very soon. Okay, now let me go back a little bit. Leviticus 26. I mentioned in Leviticus 26, if you have a chance, okay, if you have a chance, go and read the whole Leviticus 26 itself. All right, because in Leviticus 26, it said that if you follow God, you get this. But if you don't, you will have 7 more punishment, 7 more punishment, okay, and so on. Now, what happened is that in our church, there are a group of people who are emphasizing a lot on these 7 times. Okay, I don't know whether you heard of this 2520. Anybody heard of 2520 years?
Nope.
No, you have not. In America, it's a big thing. Okay, you can go and search. You go online and put the 2520 years SDA. Some of our best preachers, okay, are talking about this. Okay, now how did they get 2520? Okay, so what happened is that, okay, they say that, okay, there are 7 years. Okay, times is years, and every year is 360 days. If you multiply this one yourself, 4, 21, 25. Okay, you got 2520 days, and in prophetic language, 1 day is equals to 1 year. So that's where they got a 2520 years. Okay, and this group of people say that in Leviticus 26, okay, God is giving them a prophetic time. Okay, that something's going to happen for 2520 years.
Mm.
All right, and this group of people claims that it is a very important foundation. Okay, one of our central pillar of our faith, and they are going around preaching, okay, on this 2520 years
Mm.
prophecy. All right, they are
We
doing
got
that.
500 years to go.
Depends on when the starting date is. Depends on when the starting date
I'm
is.
just kidding.
Yeah. Other people also believe the same thing. The Jehovah Witness, they believe that in 607, okay, when Judah fall, and when you count that, it will end in 1914. And the Jehovah Witness believe that in 1914, the spiritual kingdom of Jesus has begun. We are now living in the spiritual kingdom. Okay, so that's what the Jehovah Witnesses believe. Okay, the evangelists start your starting date with 572, and they end in 1948 when after the Second World War, and then that's the time when Israel becomes a nation again. Okay, and this group of people are preaching that Israel will become great again. Okay, and then they will control the rest of the world and so on. All right, so that's what they believe. Now, our SDA people, those people who are preaching it right now, they go all the way back to the Millerite. Okay, in the Millerite movement, William Miller, actually it wasn't by William Miller, it was by another person from another church. But at the time, they were doing the calculations, and they did the calculations, and they say that starting from 676 BC, if you count the thing itself, they end up in 1843. Initially, they thought it was 1843. All right, so they do have that 2520 years. Okay, I'll talk a little bit more on how they get into that, but basically that's what it is. Now, one of the reasons why they believe in the 2520 is found in this chart here now. What happened was in the old days, in the pioneer years, they come up with a chart. All right, and Ellen G. White says, oh, this is part of the fulfillment of prophecy. I'll talk about that in a while. But in this chart, this is the one that is the 1843 chart. Okay.
Mm.
Okay, this is one of the very first chart over here. And in this chart itself, at this top corner here, I've enlarged it over here. Okay, you will see that it's 2520 is there. Okay, and the other thing that you will see is 1843. So they the Millerite movement, what they did was they say that, okay, in 677, Manasseh was captured and brought to Babylon. Manasseh was a wicked king. and he was captured in 677, round about that time. So if you add 2520, you come to 1843. Then they also study the 2,300 days prophecies, which we will talk about a little later.
Also come to,
And they also come out to 1843 and say, see, something is going to happen in 1843. We'll talk about what happened in 1843 later on. Okay, but it was, sorry about that.
Yeah, big disappointment.
Yeah, okay, we go in a little bit more detail when we go on to the last part of Daniel itself. A lot of details in there, but for now, I just want to emphasize this 2520. Okay, Ellen G. White says this. Okay, he says that as early as 1842, the Spirit of God has moved Charles Finch. Charles Finch is the one who actually designed this. Okay, and he says that it's a, or not Haggai, sorry, not Michael, Habakkuk. Okay, it's the prophecy that is being fulfilled. Okay, Habakkuk says, write down the vision, make it plain upon tablets. Okay, and so that's where the chart is. So Ellen G. White said this chart here, chart was a fulfillment of prophecy. And so this group of people were so excited about it. Okay, they come up with the 2520. All right, so they emphasize a lot on this. Now let's see what else Ellen G. White said about it. Okay. Okay, this is the same. I'm going to go to the next quote. Okay, it's the same, similar quote. Okay, sorry, Robert, you get it? Let me go back to you. Got it? Okay, it's the same quote. This is in early writings. He says that I've seen the 1843 chart. Okay, it was directed by the hand of God. God actually had a hand in creating this chart. Okay, and then it should not be altered. The figures were what he wanted them to. Okay, stop down there. Now, many of these opponents of this 2520 usually use this quote down there. It says, we cannot change anything. This is God's hand inside. But they didn't read the next part, or they gloss over this part. God's hand was over, and what does he say down here? What does he say? And hit a mistake. Not you hit a mistake. There's a mistake in the chart. Okay, and God was blocking it so that nobody can see until his hand was removed. Okay, and so what happened was they discovered the mistake late up at like Roddy was saying, the great disappointment. They expected Jesus to come in 1843. They come in 1843, but he did not come. Okay, that is called the tarrying time. Okay, did not come. And those people went back to the Bible, they start searching, and then they discovered something. Now, let me just see something first. I don't know where I got the chart here. No, I don't have. Okay. Let me see if I can draw on. Okay. Now, what happened is that they make this mistake over here. Okay, in a normal number line, say it's -2, -1. The next one will be 0 here, right? And then you got 1, 2, 3. Now, this is normal number line. But when you look at BC and AD, if you use a normal number, yeah, there's no 0. Okay, it's from from 1 BC, you will jump to not 0, but you jump straight to 1 AD. So what happened is that when they do the calculations, they got one extra number. So instead of 1843, now they realize that, hey, because there's no 0, it should be 1844. All right, we knew this. So what happened was, and then they studied, they changed it. So they came up with a new chart. Okay, ignore those for the time. Okay, they came out with a new chart. And in this new chart, there was a few changes. Okay, you notice that the dates, okay, the dates is now changed to 1844. Where is it now? Anyway, this is not what I wanted. No. Okay, anyway, they changed the chart and they explain the thing itself over here. Okay, it's a little bit small. And they say that the time is not 1843, is changed to 1844. Okay, but the 2520 is still there. The 2520 is still there in the chart itself. All right, but they only change it to 18. Here we go. They change the date. Okay, from 43 to 44. So they discovered that God's hand is partially removed. Okay, and so because of they call it the tearing time, there was a lot of people who left the church. Okay, now why did God cover? Why did God cover the chart? Anybody knows why? Why did God purposely cover it? This is going to happen again. Why did God cover the truth? Why did God not show them that, hey, it's not 1844? Why make them get so disappointed? There's a reason. Okay? Everybody was excited with the news that, oh, Jesus is coming again. Okay? And so, because of this excitement, a lot of people joined the Millerite movement. And they gave up everything.
Yeah.
However, sorry.
They don't even cultivate the land and everything. They sit there and stop and waiting for it.
That's right. They stop everything and they don't care about their neighbor laughing and all about them. When Jesus did not come back, okay, they were disappointed. They had a problem, and a lot of people left the movement. It's a fake. It's not true, but it is true. Okay, God purposely covered that little mistake over there because He wanted only the true followers of God, not someone who joined because everybody is joining. Okay, and so when His hand was removed, they discovered that, hey, that was a mistake over there. All right, so that's why it is. And also because of that, okay, they started to study the Bible more, and instead of the earth being destroyed, they realized that it was the sanctuary, heavenly sanctuary. We'll talk more about that again in the later part of Daniel. Okay, right now I just want to emphasize the 2520. So that's what happened. Okay, and so what happened was the pioneers started to study, and they realized it was something was wrong. So what happened was they came up with a new chart. This is the one that James White noticed is 1844, and there was no 2520 in the chart itself. All right, it was left out. Okay, so that is what James White and the pioneers of our church actually discovered. Okay, now when they say God's hand removed, Ellen G. White says that the removing of God's hand was because the people went back to the Bible to study the Bible. So the only way you can remove God's hand is to study the Bible to get more details. Okay, then they found out the mistake itself. Okay, we'll talk more about what happened, what are the mistakes later on when we look in Daniel 9, 8 and 9. Okay, all right. Now, any questions about all this? This is like you mentioned, is something new to most of you. Okay, but if you actually go on to the internet or the US itself, this 2520 is actually a very touchy thing. All right. Yeah, a lot of people are so emotional about it. They say that, oh, if you don't believe in this, then you are not believing in the present truth. Okay, you are losing the foundation of our church. Okay, and so on and so forth. And they got very good. I tell you something. There are people who propose these are very good people. Okay, they study the Bible. They know all the details. They know the whole histories and so on. Okay, so we have to be careful now. Why I don't think it's a big issue is because of several reasons. All right. First of all, they use the word 7 times in Leviticus. All right. There is a difference in Leviticus 26. Okay. 7 times. Actually, the time is not in the Bible. Okay, I'll show it to you in a little while. Whereas the 7 times in Daniel. Okay, the 7 times in Daniel is 7 times. There are 2 words. Okay, let me show you a resource I've been useful to me. Okay, let me bring you out to my. Okay. Oh, I haven't been watching my chat. Okay. All right. Let me just share with you something. Okay, remember I had this resource that I told you about before called the Blue Line Bible. Remember? I don't think you remember. During on the Sabbath school time. Okay, all right. In the Blue Line Bible, there are very useful tools that is there. All right. And I use this a lot. Okay, I read that in a little while. But let me just go on. Okay, in this one here, this is in Daniel chapter 4. All right, in Daniel chapter 4, let's look at one of them. This 21, 7 times. I'm looking for the 7 times. What verse is that?
13.
Sorry, 18. Oh dear. Let me see. I just want to find the word 7 times.
23, isn't it?
23. Yeah, there are about 4 times of it maybe. Yep, okay, here. Okay, notice that the word 7 times. Notice that 7 has the word, times has the word. So actually, the word 7 times has 2 words talking about it. Okay, now let me just go to the meaning of it. Okay, in this, I actually asked for strong concordance, so they'll tell me what is the meaning of this word here, 7. Okay, takes a little while, goes on back, the next group. Okay, so what happened is they tell me that the word 7 comes from the word Sheba. Okay, and I want you to notice this one here, noun. Okay, it's used as a noun. Okay, which means that it stands by itself. 7 means 7 in the number. Okay, so if you look through what it says down here, they tell you, oh, 7 means 7. Okay, sometimes they translate 7 times. Okay, we'll talk about it in a while. So it means the number 7, and it's used as a noun, so it's 7. All right, that is in Daniel. And in Daniel 4, 7 times came out 4 times. Remember just now we were talking about it. Okay, I'm going to bring you to another one. Okay, this is in Leviticus 26. Okay, in Leviticus 26 again, let me get my strong concordance out. Internet is going very slow. Hope it doesn't crash. Okay, in Leviticus 26, I mentioned that there was blessing and curse and so on. And I'm going to just pick one of the curse. Come on. Anybody got sharp eyes? I should have written down the text. Okay, prize for anybody who saw the 7 times. Ah, here we go. Okay. See this one here in Leviticus. Just now in Daniel, 7 is a word, times is a word. There are 2 words that were translated. In Leviticus 26, the 7 times actually is from one simple word. All right, so the word times is not there. Let me go to the original language. Okay. All right. See, the original word 7 comes from this word Sheba. Just now was Sheba. It is a Sheba, slightly different variation. Okay. And usually it's used as a noun, usually like in the previous case, but I want to show you something. Where is its definition? Okay, here we go. All right, Sheba. Okay, in Leviticus, it's translated as 7 times. Okay, and Sheba is no longer used in Leviticus as a noun, it's used as an adverb. Adverb means that they are describing something. They talk in terms of the intensity, the measure. Okay, it's not 7 itself. All right, so in Leviticus, when they translate it 7, it should be 7, but they put it 7 times, the time is not there. Okay, in Leviticus, the 7 times refer to an intensity, okay, not 7 years. All right, so what happened was, okay, let me just go back. Any questions first before I leave this tool over here? Okay, this tool is free of charge. You can go in and use it. It's the Blue Letter Bible. All right, it's very useful in that it gives me the Hebrew or the Greek word, and then they explain what it is. All right. In fact, if you look at the, let me just go down to, I show you how many times this one appears. This word 7 times appear. Let me just go to Leviticus 26. Leviticus 26. Okay, they show me how many times it appears. And Leviticus 22. Okay, come on. Okay, here we go. 26, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Okay, so Leviticus 26 mentioned the word 7 times, 4 times, similar to Daniel. But the difference is that in Daniel, let me go back to my monitor. Okay, in Daniel, the word 7 times is actually referring to 7 years. In Leviticus, where these people who are talking about 2520, when they use the 7, actually it means the intensity, 7-fold. Okay, and you notice, oh shucks. Anyway, in Leviticus 26, they always say 7 times more. Okay, if they do not obey God, they will suffer 7 times more plagues, 7 times more. Okay, so there is a difference. All right. Again, like I said, if you don't understand certain things, let me know. Okay. If I go too fast, if you want to slow me down, you go ahead. All right. Anyway, so the word 7 times in Leviticus 26 is not exactly the same as in Daniel 4. So these people who took that similarity didn't quite look at it very carefully. The word 7 in Daniel refers to the number 7. The word 7 times in Leviticus refers to intensity, how intense it is, how much it is. Okay, so it's 7-fold. Okay, so it's a different meaning altogether. All right. Also, you'll find that in Leviticus 26 itself, let me just get my highlighter. The reason why I'm using highlighter is because some of you cannot see my mouse. Okay, come on. So that when I highlight, you can see, you can follow. Okay, in Leviticus 7, it is not concurrent. In other words, all the 4 times it was mentioned is not one time, 7 times. Like what the other people say, 2520 is only 1 time. Whereas in Leviticus 27, it is successive. It's 7 times more. Huh? You cannot see. Oh, can I check something with you people? My daughter says she cannot see my screen. Huh? Very small, is it?
You can see your screen, but
I can
it's
see.
different mode, kind of different from the previous one.
Yeah, with the preview mode.
You have your next slide available.
You have
as
the
your
next
backup.
slide, on. Yeah. Don't do share screen. Get out of the share screen.
Okay. All right, I'm out of the share screen now. And let me just close this one here.
No, share screen meaning your PowerPoint share.
Yeah. Okay. And I lost myself.
That's it. Good.
Okay, that's good. Okay, it's good for you, but not good for me because okay, never mind. I just make sure that you guys, you have to let me know because what I see is different from what
We're on
you.
the 2520.
Okay, so let me just jump down to 2520. Okay, so yeah. All right, so the Leviticus is successive. There should be 7 more times, okay, rather than 1 time. Now, Daniel 4, like I mentioned before, there are 2 sections. Daniel 4 is found in the historical section, okay, which means that the purpose of this is not prophetic. That's why we are studying this part first. The reason for this is so that we can understand more about God, to pick up our relationship with God, understand why. Okay, it's not prophetic, so we don't count the 7 as 7 prophetic times. Okay. All right. Okay, and then in this Leviticus itself, there is no decree. Okay, there is no starting, there's no ending point. Okay, so we do not know when to start, we do not know when to end. All we know is that if you go against God, you have 7 more punishments, 7 more. Okay, there's no starting ending point. Now, the decree is important. When we study later on the 2300, every time there's a starting point, there is a decree given. Okay, every time. The first part, Artaxerxes came out. Okay, first decree. Later on, Justinian have a decree. Clovis has a decree. All these decree gives you the starting point. Whereas in the 2520, they don't give you any starting point at all. Millerites uses 677, 677, and he said, oh, because King Manasseh was taken as a prisoner. If you actually read the passage, only King Manasseh was taken as prisoner. The rest of the people were left behind. And later on, he was released. So it's not a very reliable starting point. Also, the other thing that was interesting is that James White, he wrote an article in January 26, okay, called Why Remove 2520 from his chart. Remember, I told you about those charts. Okay, he wrote an article against that. Okay, and the other thing that was really strong in my mind is this. When I read Ellen G. White's writing, the 2520 is not mentioned.
No.
In fact, she said that the longest prophecy was 2300. Now, I know maths. 2520 is longer than 2300. But she said that the longest prophecy was 2300. In great controversy in 7 Bible commentary. Okay, and so what happened is, because of this, I think that those other people are making a big fuss about 2520 as being foundational and being important. Is being digressed or diverted by Satan to spend more time on this and arguing and causing the church to split and so on. Okay, so it's no big deal. It's not vital to our salvation. All right. So, all right. Before I go on, any questions on this?
I guess it's that you know, you can be a Bible student, but they lose your perspective.
Yeah. And like I said, these people are very good Bible students. I really admired a lot of them. They're really good in details, but
Yeah. I don't know whether Bible are designed to do this sort of research.
there is, but there are certain rules that we follow. Like I said, when they give you a time prophecy, it has a starting point, a decree that they tell you. It starts from here. Okay, it starts from here. You don't just throw it to you and also the other thing is that let me see where I got it there. No, I don't have it there. The Leviticus 26 is conditional. Okay, if you do this, then you get 7 times. If you do that, you get 7 times. It's conditional. Whereas if you look at the time prophecy, it's not conditional. Whatever happens, that is it. All right, so that's another difference that we bring out. Okay, so that is something that I think so. Next time when you come across people who talk about 2520, at least you know. All right. Okay. If there are no other questions, I'm going to go on fast because our time is already almost up. Okay. All right. So I'm going to just keep reading. Okay. So the stump was left behind because God wanted to give Nebuchadnezzar a second chance. Okay. God is always merciful, and God always gives second chances. He always gives a warning. Okay. In the case of Nebuchadnezzar, he gives 1 year of warning. Okay. Nebuchadnezzar was good for a little while, but 12 months later, what happened? He stood up and said, I, and so on. Okay, so God gave him a warning. That's what it is. God gave a lot of warning. Before the flood, God gave him 120 years. Okay, and just before Jesus comes again, a lot more warning. Okay, so this warning here, this prophecy that is given, Daniel says, hey, look, this is conditional. If you change, if you show mercy, if you become righteous, maybe God might lengthen your prosperity. All right, so this is conditional too. All right, Okay, I'm going to run through because I'm running out of time. Okay, this one is something beside the thing. They found that in Nebuchadnezzar's palace there is a plaque that says in Aramaic, the bad unrighteous man cannot come with him. No unrighteous man can welcome to his palace. Okay, and when Daniel said that he is the one, okay, it seems to imply that he was the bad man, he's the unrighteous man to enter the palace. Okay, I'm going to go through, I don't want to go too long. Okay, 12 months later, he's failed. Okay, and he says, I notice that sounds exactly like what Satan said. I will rise myself above the, and so on. So that's what it is. Okay, I'm going to skip all those. Okay, now this is just talking about how great Babylon is. And actually Nebuchadnezzar is a great king. Okay, he was a great king. He built a lot of stuff. And after he fought and he overcome Pharaoh Necho, he started to go around and become a builder. Okay, and he built temples. Like I said, he had many gods. So he built temples for the different gods. He had sanctuary. His temple of Merodach is 7-8 stories high. Okay, he enlarged Babylon. This map here shows you that Babylon used to be a small portion. He enlarged it, okay, many times. Okay, and then take note that there's a river flowing through the thing itself. So there's a river going through the gate itself. They got plenty of water. The whole place has there's two walls, inner wall, outer wall. Okay, next, when we go to chapter 5, I go more in detail in that itself. Okay, and so on so forth. Now here it says that at the very hour, okay, the moment he said that, straight away, okay, he was struck down. Okay, and when he was struck down, his body was wet. Okay, hair grown like eagle's wing, eagle's feathers, nails like bird's claws. Now I want you to remember these eagle's feathers, because later when we come to the prophecy, the word eagle's feather the wings of the eagles will come out. Okay, then we know who he was talking about in the prophecy itself. Okay, I'm trying to go fast a bit. Let me see. Okay, this is again, once he was struck down. Okay, in Deuteronomy he said that this is to humble him, so that he will remember God. Okay, I just mentioned this one funny, but in our world today, there is actually this kind of disease. The one that he actually gone through is bow atrophy. Bow is referring to animals like cows, cattle, oxen. Okay, entropy refers to man. So these people would think that he's a cow, it acts like a cow. I was trying to look for it. I've seen videos of people that actually think that they're snake and they crawl like a snake on the land. Okay, they do that. Or they think that they are actually a cat. Okay, and then they move and they act like a cat. Okay, I've seen seen videos on that, but I can't find it anymore. But the disease is around. Okay, just another interesting thing is that there is such a thing happening in the life of King George. Okay, King George has a similar problem. He will just go mad and he start talking at a full rate. They claim that it's up to 400 words per minute until he starts foaming in his mouth and couldn't control anymore. Finally, he went mad in 1810. This is a king that they call the Mad King who lost America. Okay, they make a few bad decisions that he lost America. Okay, and the reason why he was still king was because the people around him went and pretend that he was around and they make decisions for him. All right, just to protect themselves, because if someone else take over, they lose their post. Okay, all right. Notice over here, God did not make Nebuchadnezzar insane. Okay, what happened was that because he was so proud, the watchers, the council of watchers decided to leave, okay, pull the spirit away. And once the spirit is away, like I mentioned before, the devil comes in. He's controlled by the devil, just like Saul. When God's spirit is removed, what happens? He went crazy. Okay, the evil spirit went into him. All right. Okay, I have to run off. Okay, this is talking about what they believe in those days itself. Okay. All right. Okay. Finally, okay. Remember we were talking about chiastic structure, and in the first introduction itself, we found that the middle of the chiastic structure is in verse 34. All right. In verse 34, they give you the theme or the main key. Okay, that is there, and that is God's dominion. Okay, God's dominion is always there. His kingdom will be everlasting forever and ever. Okay, all right. Time is up. Okay, I'm going to stop here for now, and then I'd like you to think about. Well, I want you to think about several things. Okay, about what lessons you learned. Okay, and so on. And the next lesson, next week when we come back, we will talk about what you learned. Okay, about God. Now, I just wondering, can anybody tell me what's the meaning of this one here? Can anybody interpret this?
Suffering is bad for you.
What is the soft drink put in? What do you call this?
Can. Can.
Okay, yep, can. So, yep, the first word is the can.
Can you be?
Can you be
Ready.
Can you be on
ready?
time?
Okay, yeah, sort of.
Ready.
Yeah. Okay. Can you be ready on time? Okay. Next week, the next session, you're going to look at in Daniel chapter 5, and God gave them a puzzle. The people that could not understand the puzzle, but if you're wise enough, you can see the puzzle. Okay, I just have a few more puzzles here. Can anybody tell me what this anagram means? Anybody know this? How many gifts are there? Yeah. So forgive and
Forget.
yeah, good. Okay, what do you see here?
Fork in the road.
Right, fork in the road. Okay, this one is going forward, this one is going backwards. So what is this? How many steps?
2 steps.
Yep, 2 steps what?
2 steps back.
2 steps forward. 2
Backwards.
steps forward. Yeah, 1 step backward. Okay, next one. Hamlet is William Shakespeare's play.
Shakespeare.
Okay, so it's the play on
Words.
right. Okay. Yeah. Some of you can get it very quickly. Some of you will take a little while. Okay, and that is what happens in Daniel chapter 5. Now, this is your homework. I'm a teacher, remember? Okay, copy those words and see who can break this code.
Okay,
Okay.
take a picture.
All right, go ahead, take a picture.
Where's your phone? I can't see that.
Okay, so I want you to think about it because you have to do something with next week's next session's chapter 5.
Well, it's supposed to be a word or something, is it what?
Yeah, it's some words. Okay, all right. Okay, oh, it's a long session. I have to cut down my things, too many things. All right, any questions or anything that you want to talk about? Okay, I have to apologize. I missed a lot of the chat. I was so involved in the chat. David, sorry about that. Okay, I'm looking at the chat now. Shasha, oh dear, okay. All right. Yeah, okay.
When you say next week, you mean next 2 weeks?
Next session.
Okay.
Okay, read chapter 5. Okay, there's a lot of things in chapter 5 also. Now, a little bit of hint. This week we look at the fall of Babylon, and God was warning the people. And this time the people actually got out. So come out of her, my people. Okay, Nebuchadnezzar.
Lost you.
Is it our computer or is it his
Internet, probably.
his internet? I guess.
Yeah. We lost you.
Hello, Winky.
714 the session did not. Okay.
Oh, it's back again.
Okay. Yep. My internet is unstable. So
Thank you.
But it's good for that 1.5 hours. That's not too bad.
okay. Yeah, there's quite a bit more, but I just skip them. Okay, not that vital. What I insisted is for you to actually go back and then think about it, to start you thinking. Okay, because every little thing, remember I talked about tidbits, even tiny little things in the Bible is written there for a purpose. Simple word like 7, okay, to us it's meaningless, but to these people there's a lot of meaning if you actually study. So I hope that I can start you guys thinking and really studying into the Bible itself. Okay, and also I like to introduce a little bit of Revelations, so that when you go into the study of Revelation, I don't know whether they have time, but when you study on Revelation, you have a little bit of idea. All right, so this is just to get your thinking juices going. Okay, and so on. So
It will be
yeah.
difficult for me. I don't think.
Yeah, it's fine. Just go ahead and do it. Nah, you got enough experience with it. Okay, if there is nothing else, then I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. See you
Bye.
2
Bye.
weeks time. Bye bye. Yeah.
See you, Jane.
Yeah. Oh, hi, Jane. Okay.
I did.
All right.
You said I said it already. Link.
Okay. Bye, Sasha.
Who's Sasha?
Sasha, that is Suwan's dog.
Oh.
All right. I'll see you then. Thank you for your time. Read
Right,
chapter 5.
bye.
Bye bye.